morning, everyone. Welcome to the digital classroom with Holy Heart Schools. Today, we are going to start with our chapter Insolation. In today's video, we will be learning about insolation, its distribution, and heating of the atmosphere. While going through these topics, we will be learning some new words like number 1. Insolation. The incoming solar radiation which reaches the surface of the earth is called insolation. Number 2. Solar radiation. The transmission of heat energy in the form of electromagnetic waves by the sun. Number 3. Atmosphere. The envelope of air which surrounds the earth's surface. Or is terrestrial radiation. Heat energy that is radiated by the earth's surface. Number 5. Conduction. The process by which heat moves from area of more heat to the area of less heat by direct contact. Number 6. Convection. The process that involves the movement of energy from one place to another. Number 7. Radiation. Transmission of energy in the form of electromagnetic waves is called radiation. And at last we have advection. Horizontal transfer of heat by wind is called advection. Students, please open up your chapter number 13, page 95. But before we start with the today's topic, let's have a brief about the topic. Sun is an extremely hot gaseous spherical mass whose surface temperature is 6000 degrees Celsius. This hot gaseous mass is continuously radiating heat energy into the space, which is known as solar radiation. Earth receives heat from the solar radiation only, but our Earth receives a very small percentage of the total solar radiation, which is only 1 in 2 billion parts. This is due to the great distance of the Earth from the Sun, which is approximately about 150 million kilometers, and secondly, the size of the Earth is very small as compared to the Sun. Yet, this small proportion of the solar radiation reaching the Earth is of great importance. Being the only major source of energy on the Earth, it controls many of the physical and all the biological phenomena of the Earth. Solar radiation travels from the Sun to the Earth at the speed of light, that is nearly 3 lakh km per second. Now, if we talk about the temperature of the Earth, the average temperature of the Earth remains more or less constant because the incoming solar radiation is almost same as outgoing terrestrial radiation returned by the Earth to the space. This balance of incoming and outgoing radiation has been termed as the Earth's heat budget. With the word heat budget, we can easily relate that it is referring to the balance between heat absorbed by the earth and outgoing heat escaping it in the form of radiation, and if this balance is disturbed, then earth would get progressively hotter or cooler with the each passing year. Now let's understand it with an example. Let's assume that the amount of incoming solar energy at the top of the atmosphere is 100%, which means 100% of the sun rays are hitting the exosphere. While passing through the layers of atmosphere, some amount of energy is reflected, scattered and absorbed, and only the remaining part reaches the earth's surface. So 35% of the sun rays are reflected back to the space even before reaching the earth's surface. So this 35% of reflected radiation is called albedo of the earth. In other words, albedo means how much of the sun's energy is reflected back into the space. Now, as the remaining 65% enters the earth's atmosphere, 14% of it is absorbed within the atmosphere by water vapors, dust particles and other atmospheric gases. Now, the remaining 51% of the sun's rays is actually absorbed by the earth's surface. So now let's start with the reading of the topic today. Insolation. The incoming solar radiation which reaches the surface of the earth is called insolation. The sun is the main source of energy for heating the surface of the earth and the atmosphere. Atmosphere is the envelope of gases that surrounds the earth's surface. The sun is a huge ball of gases that generates heat by continuous nuclear reactions. Nuclear reaction is a change in the identity or characteristic of an atomic nucleus by bombarding it with energetic particles. With a surface temperature of about 6000 degrees Celsius, the sun is constantly radiating heat energy into the space in the form of electromagnetic radiations. Electromagnetic radiations is a collection of waves that travel away from surface of an object. This is known as solar radiation. In a simple language, solar radiation is the electromagnetic radiation given off by the sun. The radiant energy travels outwards from the sun at the speed of about 3 lakh km per second and covers a distance of about 150 million kilometers in about 8 minutes and 20 seconds to reach the surface of the earth. The earth, because of its small size and great distance from the sun, is able to intercept only 1 into 2 billion, means 200 crore parts of the solar radiation, because most of the energy is radiated back by the atmosphere or is absorbed by the clouds, water vapors, or other atmospheric gases. Many of the physical and almost all the biotic phenomena on the earth are controlled by this small proportion, means amount of the incoming solar radiations. Now, here physical phenomena may include melting and evaporation of water, and biotic phenomena may include the running of photosynthesis in the plants, giving vitamins to the human body, etc. The amount of solar radiation received on unit area of Earth's surface is about 2 gram calories per square centimeter per minute. Of the total radiant solar energy that reaches the outer surface of the Earth's atmosphere, only half, that is about 51%, is able to reach the Earth's surface directly or indirectly, scattered, and is absorbed by the Earth. The rest of the solar radiation is lost through scattering, that is by gas molecules, reflection by clouds, by absorption largely by water vapors while passing through the atmosphere, and this complete I have already explained in the starting. Now next we are going to start up with the insolation. The incoming solar radiation which reaches the surface of the earth is called insolation. Solar insolation received is not same everywhere on the earth. It varies from place to place and is controlled by the following factors. Number 1, inclination of the sun rays. Inclination means tilting of the sun rays. Inclination of sun rays affect the solar insolation at a place by its area. Vertical rays have to heat less area than the inclined rays, so that heat per unit area provided by the vertical rays is more than that of inclined rays. Due to the spherical shape of the earth, the inclination is different at the different places. The inclination of axis is maximum at the pole and is least at the equator, which means that the equator receives the vertical rays of the sun, whereas poles receive the slanting rays of the sun. Now next we have the amount of atmosphere to be crossed. As we have learnt in the inclination of axis that equator receives vertical rays whereas the pole receives slanting rays of the sun. The sun and the earth are spherical in shape, so the vertical rays travel less distance, so they encounter less clouds, dust particles, gases, water vapors. So heat loss is less here, and on other hand the slanting rays travels more distance, so they have to face more dust particles, cloud, gases. So the heat loss by reflection and absorption is more. Now next we have the duration of sunshine or the length of the day. We receive insolation only during the daytime when the sun is shining in the sky. Hence, the amount of insolation depends upon the length of the day or duration of the sunshine. Days are longer in summers and more insolation is received. In winters, the days are shorter and less insolation is received. The duration of day remains the same throughout the year at the equator, and the amount of insolation received is also the same. but days and nights are of 6 months duration at the poles and the large seasonal duration of insolation are observed there. Now the next main factor includes transparency of the atmosphere. The amount of cloud cover and its thickness, dust and water vapors which determine the transparency of the atmosphere affect the reflection, absorption and transmission of the solar radiation. The amount of solar radiation received over the surface of the earth is more if the atmosphere is transparent. Now let's understand this with the help of an example. Deserts have clear sky, so there is no obstruction in the path of solar radiation. So here the intensity of heat is more where atmosphere is transparent, whereas in coastal areas the cloud cover obstruct the solar radiation, due to which the intensity of heat is less in these areas. Now the next main point is distance of the earth from the sun. Earth revolves around the sun on the elliptical path. The earth is nearest to the sun on or about 3rd of January, and this position is known as perihelion, and it is farthest from the sun on or about 4th of July, and this position is called aphelion. As a result, our earth receives 6.6 more insolation in January as comparatively to that in July. Now the last main factor includes sunspots. Sunspots are the cooler parts of the sun. During the revolution when earth faces the sunspots, the amount of insolation is less. Now next we have the distribution of insolation. The amount of insolation received on the earth is not uniform everywhere, and this we have concluded from the factors just discussed before. It varies according to the place and time. When the tropical regions receive maximum annual insolation, it gradually decreases towards the pole. Insolation is more in summer and less in winters. So now let's read. Insolation. The incoming solar radiation which reaches the surface of the earth is called insolation. The amount of insolation reaching the surface of the earth and its effectiveness per unit area depends upon the following factors. Number 1, the inclination of the sun rays. Inclination means the tilting of the sun's rays. Number 2, the amount of atmosphere to be crossed. Number 3, the duration of sunshine or the length of the day. Number 4, the transparency of the atmosphere. Number 5, the distance between the sun and the earth. And number 6, the sunspots. Sunspots are the dark patches on the surface of the sun. Now next is distribution of insolation. A large portion of incoming solar radiation is lost while passing through the atmosphere due to cloudiness, atmospheric scattering, reflection and absorption through ozone. This I have already told in a heat budget. The maximum surface insolation is received in the tropical zone, that is from 1/2 degree north to south, which extends from Tropic of Cancer in the north, Tropic of Capricorn in the south. There is a little variation in the amount of insolation received during the winter and summer season, as every place lying in the tropic experiences the overhead sun twice a year, because the subsolar points appear at the equator twice a year at the time of equinoxes and migrate north and south across the tropics during the rest of the year. Thus, the total amount of insolation received at the surface of the earth decreases from the equator towards the poles, because at equator the sun rays are falling vertically, and as we are moving towards the pole, the sun rays are also getting slanting. Along 45-degree latitude, the insolation is about 25% less than that of equator. It is reduced to about 50% along the Arctic and Antarctic circle and is further reduced at the poles. This is all because of the inclination of the sun rays. Now next we are starting up with the heating of the atmosphere. As we all know that the sun is the main source of heat and light on the earth. The sun radiates heat and light energy called solar radiation. The earth is heated due to these radiation, but as we know that only small portion of solar radiation reaches the earth's surface. So, the amount of solar radiation which is received by the earth is known as insolation, and it varies from place to place. The insolation absorbed during the day is radiated back during night. This process is called terrestrial radiation. This radiation heats up the atmospheric more as comparatively to insolation. The sun does not heat up the atmosphere directly. It heats the earth's surface, which in turn heats the air above the surface. Air, like other substance, is heated by radiation, conduction, convection, and advection. So let's start with conduction. Transfer of heat through matter by molecular activity is known as conduction. When two bodies of unequal temperature are in contact with each other, there is a flow of energy from the warmer to the cooler body. This transfer of heat continues until both the bodies attain the same temperature. Air is a poor conductor of heat, and only the lower layers of the atmosphere are heated by conduction as a result of direct contact with the Earth's surface. As a whole, the conduction is least significant in heating the atmosphere. So now let's read. Heating of the atmosphere. The sun is the most important source of heat for the atmosphere, but the atmosphere is not directly heated by the rays of the sun. As we have already learned that during the process of insolation, much of the heat is absorbed by clouds, dust particles, atmospheric gases, etc. The Earth's surface, being solid, absorbs the incoming solar radiation. Thus, the surface of the Earth is directly heated by the solar radiation. The absorbed heat is re-radiated by the Earth's surface in the form of terrestrial radiation, which heats up the atmosphere. The air resting over the surface of the earth is heated by the contact and other methods such as conduction, convection, radiation, and advection. Now here, conduction is the process by which heat moves from area of more heat to area of less heat by direct contact. Convection is the process that involves the movement of energy from one place to another, and radiation is the transfer of energy between two objects by electromagnetic waves. Advection is the process of horizontal transfer of heat by the wind. Conduction. When two bodies having unequal temperature come in contact with one another, the heat energy flows from the hotter body to the cooler body, and this transfer of heat is called conduction. Conduction continues till both the bodies attain the same temperature or when the contact is broken. For example, when a pan is placed onto a gas top, when the gas is turned on, the pan becomes very hot due to the conduction of heat from the burner to the pan end. In the same manner, the land surface is heated up after absorbing the solar radiation. The air resting upon the warmer earth surface is heated by the process of conduction. Conduction is important in the lower layers of the atmosphere where the air is in direct contact with the surface of the earth. It means this process mainly takes place in the troposphere. Now next we have convection. Transfer of heat by the movement of mass or substance from one place to another is called convection. Convection motions are possible only in liquid and gases and not in solids. When the air in the lower layers of the atmosphere get heated either by terrestrial radiation or by conduction, it expands and its density decreases. And as a result, a vacuum is created in the lower layers of the atmosphere because of the continuous upward movement of the heated air because of its less density. Now, the cooler air mass moves horizontally near the Earth's surface to fill up this vacuum. Reaching the heated region, it also warms up and rises. Hence, the cyclic movement associated with the convectional current in the atmosphere transfer heat from the lower layers to the upper layers and heats up the atmosphere. So now let's read. Convection is the process that involves the movement of energy from one place to another. When the air is heated, it rises upward It leaves behind a partial vacuum, means an emptiness near the surface of the earth. The continuous upward movement of the heated air mass pushes aside the air at the higher levels. As a result, the pushed air mass moves horizontally towards the cooler areas and descends gradually due to the increased density. The cooler air mass moves horizontally near the Earth's surface to fill up the partial vacuum. The cooler air mass is also heated and rises upward. The process of land breeze and sea breeze is the best example of convection. This is how the convection current develops above the surface of the earth, and this process of heating the atmosphere is known as convection. It helps to transfer the heat to the various layers of the atmosphere. Now next we have radiation. It is a transmission of energy in the form of electromagnetic waves. The radiation coming from the sun are in the form of short wave radiation and reaches the earth's surface without much heating the atmosphere. Most of it is reflected back by the earth's surface in the form of long wave radiation. This is known as terrestrial radiation, which is easily absorbed by the air. Thus, the atmosphere is heated more by the terrestrial radiation than by the incoming solar radiations. In this way, the atmosphere is heated from the ground up and its lower layers are warmer than the upper layers. So now let's read. Radiation. Radiation is the transmission of energy in the form of electromagnetic waves. Electromagnetic waves are the waves that travel away from the surface of an object. The sun radiates heat energy in the form of short waves, whereas the radiation from the earth is in the form of long waves. This we have already studied. The atmosphere behaves like a transparent medium for the short wave solar radiation. This is one of the factors that the transparency of the atmosphere is needed for the solar radiation. Thus, the solar radiation is not capable of heating the atmosphere directly and it's received by the earth in the form of insolation. After receiving insolation, the surface of the earth is heated and becomes a radiating body. The radiation of heat energy from the surface of the earth is in the form of long waves and known as terrestrial radiation. Radiation is the absorbed heat energy that is radiated by the earth's surface. The sunset, the insolation ceases, means stops, but the earth's surface continues to radiate heat energy even during the night. Thus, the atmosphere is heated by the terrestrial radiation and not by the incoming solar radiations. Next, we have advection. Advection is the horizontal movement of air, water, or any other fluid. In case of air, it may result in transfer of heat from the lower to higher latitudes. Ocean current drives by the surface wind also transfer heat by advection from the tropical to the polar latitudes. When the warm air masses reaches the cold air, they raise the temperature there. So now let's read. Sometimes air masses move from one region to another along with the winds. These winds carry the temperature of one place to another. For example, the winds coming from cool areas will bring cool winds, and the winds coming from desert areas will bring warm winds. The air temperature of places thus rises and falls depending upon the whether the wind is coming from a warm or a cool areas. For example, the winds coming from mountainous areas will decrease the temperature of nearby areas, and the winds which are coming from desert areas will increase the temperature of nearby areas because these are the warm winds. This process of horizontal transfer of heat by wind is called advection. Next is compression. The upper layers of the atmosphere exert pressure on the lower layers due to its weight. As a result of this compression, the lower layers are heated more as comparatively to upper ones. So now let's read. Compression. When the air current descends, means come down, it presses the lower layers of the atmosphere. Due to this pressure and the increasing weight of the upper layers, the lower layers of the atmosphere gets heated. So now students, with this we are ending up with the topic of the day. Please revise your topic and do the related exercises. Thank you.